In the neon-lit labyrinth of Silicon Valley, where innovation soared but shadows of inequality loomed large, a single moment was poised to ripple through lives and legacies. Beneath the shimmering facades of glass towers and the hum of electric cars, a quiet cafe became the unlikely stage for a collision of ambition, ethics, and power. Here, amidst the clinking of espresso cups and the low murmur of tech elites, a spark would ignite, a spark that neither algorithms nor privilege could predict. Zora Washington, a young woman with dreams as vast as the digital frontier, moved deftly between tables at Nebula Cafe. Her sharp mind, honed by years of studying computer science, was hidden behind the practiced smile of a waitress. Every tip she pocketed was a step closer to her goal, building a startup that could redefine artificial intelligence. Yet, on that fateful afternoon, her trajectory shifted when a distracted Elon Musk spilled the contents of his bag. As Zora knelt to help, their worlds briefly aligned, tethered by a shared language of innovation. In that fleeting exchange, barriers of wealth and race dissolved, but the aftershocks would prove far less fleeting. From his office, Marcus Chin watched the interaction with a growing unease. A man who had built Nebula Cafe from nothing, Marcus had long walked a tightrope between his immigrant identity and the pressures of Silicon Valley's elite. The next morning, his decision to fire Zora, an act steeped in fear rather than malice, set off a chain of events he could neither foresee nor control. Meanwhile, a business card slipped into Zora's pocket became her lifeline to a world she never thought she'd enter. As whispers of Zora's dismissal spread, they reached Amelia Thorne, a journalist hungry for a story that could expose the cracks in Silicon Valley's gleaming veneer. What began as curiosity soon unraveled into a web of systemic discrimination, forcing Amelia to confront her own biases and responsibilities. Across the valley, Musk, too, faced an uncomfortable reckoning, his name now entangled in a narrative far removed from his controlled public image. In a place driven by code and capital, the butterfly effect had begun. And as the sun dipped behind the hills, its golden light casting sharp contrasts between privilege and perseverance, the stage was set for a battle that would challenge the algorithms of power itself. The story unfolds in the sprawling, sun-scorched expanse of Eridra, a desert world where colossal sandstone cities rise from the dunes, connected by ancient, crumbling trade routes. The skies are often painted in hues of amber and violet, with two suns casting long shadows across the jagged terrain. Water is a rare and precious resource, guarded fiercely by the ruling elite, while nomadic tribes traverse the wastelands, scavenging for survival. Strange, bioluminescent plants glow faintly under the twin moons at night, hinting at remnants of a once thriving ecosystem. The protagonist, Kale, is a resourceful scavenger in his mid-20s, known for his sharp wit and a knack for finding valuable relics buried beneath the sands. Orphaned as a child after a sandstorm wiped out his caravan, Kale grew up on the streets of Drysar, the largest desert city, learning to rely on his cunning and agility. His only companion is a sentient, bird-like automaton named Vex, a relic from a bygone era, who serves as both a guide and a reminder of the world's forgotten technological marvels. Opposing Kale is Lady Saris, a calculating and ambitious noblewoman who controls the city's water reserves. Saris is driven by a desire to consolidate her power and uncover the secrets of the ancient machines scattered across the desert. Her cold demeanor masks a tragic past, as she once lost her family in a rebellion against the ruling class, fueling her obsession with control. Kale's journey begins when he discovers a map etched into an ancient artifact, rumored to lead to a hidden oasis capable of restoring balance to the arid world. Reluctantly, he teams up with Lyra, a skilled but disillusioned water thief seeking redemption. Their uneasy alliance is strained by their clashing motivations, but both are bound by a shared desire to challenge the oppressive system and reclaim hope for Eridra's future. In the wake of Zora's unjust dismissal, a cryptic email from an anonymous whistleblower lands in Amelia Thorne's inbox, exposing a hidden algorithm used by Nebula Cafe's parent company to filter job applicants based on race and socioeconomic background, sparking outrage. Meanwhile, Musk, haunted by his role, secretly offers Zora resources to develop her AI project, setting off a collision of ambition, ethics, and rebellion. The small, bustling town of Eldermere sat on the edge of an ancient forest, where whispers of hidden treasures and forgotten magic lured adventurers from afar. Aiden, an ambitious blacksmith's apprentice, dreamed of crafting legendary weapons but lacked the rare materials needed to do so. His best friend, Lyra, a quick-witted herbalist, longed to find a cure for her mother's mysterious illness, which had baffled even the town's most skilled healers. The two shared a bond forged through years of shared struggles and unspoken dreams, but their paths had yet to intertwine in a way that would change their lives forever. Their journey began when a traveling merchant passed through town, offering a cryptic map said to lead to the Heartwood Glade, a mythical place deep within the forest. The map promised treasures beyond imagination, including the rare herbs Lyra needed and the enchanted ores Aiden sought. However, the merchant warned of the dangers lurking in the forest, traps, beasts, and the enigmatic wardens who guarded its secrets. Undeterred, Aiden and Lyra pooled their meager savings to purchase the map, their goals aligning for the first time. As they ventured into the forest, their resolve was tested almost immediately. Aiden's courage faltered when they encountered a pack of shadow wolves, forcing Lyra to outwit the creatures with her knowledge of plants and poisons. Meanwhile, Lyra struggled with self-doubt, relying on Aiden's unwavering determination to press forward. Their differing strengths and weaknesses began to complement each other, revealing a partnership deeper than either had anticipated. Along the way, they encountered Rowan, a wandering bard with a penchant for trouble and a knack for uncovering secrets. Though initially distrustful, Rowan's knowledge of the forest proved invaluable. His presence introduced a new layer of tension and humor, as his motives remained unclear. Together, the trio navigated the forest's perils, uncovering clues that hinted at a larger mystery surrounding the Heartwood Glade and themselves. The morning began like any other in the quiet town of Greywood, with its cobblestone streets bathed in soft sunlight. People moved about their routines, unaware that the fragile balance of their lives was about to shatter. For Clara, a reserved librarian with a penchant for old maps, the day seemed uneventful until she received a package with no return address. Inside was a weathered journal, its pages filled with cryptic symbols and a single note, *, find it before they do. Confused but intrigued, Clara barely had time to process the cryptic message when the library's windows rattled violently. A black SUV screeched to a halt outside, and two men in dark suits stormed in, demanding the package. Their sharp, urgent tones left no room for negotiation. Clara clutched the journal instinctively, her heart pounding. Before she could respond, a young man she'd never seen before appeared from the shadows of the library. "Run," he whispered, pulling her toward the back exit just as the men turned their attention toward them. The pair bolted through alleyways, Clara's mind racing with questions. Who were these men? What was in the journal that made it so valuable? Her ordinary life had been upended in an instant, and the stranger's cryptic warnings only deepened the mystery. "They'll stop at nothing," he said, his voice edged with urgency. "If they get their hands on that journal, it's over for all of us." As they reached a safe distance, Clara's fear began to mingle with determination. She'd spent years longing for something to break the monotony of her life, but she never imagined it would come in the form of a life-or-death chase. The journal's secrets were now her burden, and though she didn't yet understand their significance, one thing was clear: her life would never be the same. The status quo had been obliterated, and the path ahead was fraught with danger. The fallout from Zora's dismissal rippled far beyond the walls of Nebula Cafe, igniting conversations across social media about workplace discrimination and the unseen barriers faced by marginalized communities in Silicon Valley. Among those who noticed was Dr. Priya Kapoor, a prominent AI ethicist and professor at Stanford University. Priya, known for her outspoken criticism of tech industry biases, reached out to Zora after reading Amelia Thorne's initial blog post about the incident. Their meeting would plant the seeds for an unexpected alliance that would challenge the industry's status quo. Meanwhile, Marcus Chen wrestled with the consequences of his decision. His cafe, once a haven for tech elites, faced backlash as activists began protesting outside, demanding accountability. Marcus's wife, May, a former labor rights advocate, confronted him over dinner, questioning whether his actions reflected the values they had once shared. Their tense conversation hinted at fractures in their marriage, as Marcus found himself torn between preserving his business and confronting the systemic issues he had tried to ignore. Amelia, emboldened by the traction her story was gaining, began receiving anonymous tips about other cases of discrimination in Silicon Valley. One email, from an unnamed whistleblower, hinted at a secretive hiring algorithm used by a major tech firm that systematically excluded candidates from underrepresented backgrounds. Determined to uncover the truth, Amelia enlisted the help of her tech-savvy younger brother, Leo, who had recently dropped out of college to pursue freelance cybersecurity work. Together, they began piecing together a puzzle that pointed to a much larger scandal. At the same time, Elon Musk, uncharacteristically silent on Twitter, retreated to his private lab, grappling with the implications of his encounter with Zora. He began revisiting old notebooks, searching for solutions to the very inequalities his companies may have inadvertently perpetuated. Among the sketches and equations, he found an idea for a decentralized tech incubator, a concept he had abandoned years ago. This time, he wondered, could it be the answer? In the shadows of these unfolding events, a mysterious figure known only as the Architect emerged online, posting cryptic messages about dismantling the power structures of Silicon Valley. Their identity and motives remained unclear, but their words resonated with a growing number of disillusioned tech workers and activists. As these threads began to intertwine, it became evident that the battle ahead would not just be about Zora's story, it would be about redefining the future of innovation itself. The fallout from Zora's dismissal began to ripple outward with startling speed. Social media erupted as a fellow waitress, enraged by Marcus's actions, anonymously shared Zora's story. The post quickly gained traction, sparking debates about racial and economic inequality in Silicon Valley. Meanwhile, Zora wrestled with her next move. The business card Musk had given her burned a hole in her pocket, a potential lifeline she hesitated to use. Pride and uncertainty warred within her, as she questioned whether reaching out would compromise her independence or grant her the opportunity she had long dreamed of. Amelia Thorne, now fully immersed in her investigation, uncovered a troubling pattern of systemic bias across several high-profile establishments. Her research revealed that Nebula Cafe was far from an isolated case. It was part of a broader culture of exclusion that permeated the tech world. As Amelia pieced together her exposé, she found herself torn between professional ambition and the ethical weight of the stories she was about to unleash. The deeper she dug, the more interconnected the players became, and she began to suspect that her anonymous tips were coming from someone with insider knowledge. For Marcus Chen, the backlash was swift and unforgiving. Regular customers began to boycott Nebula Cafe, and his carefully curated image of success started to crumble. Late one night, he sat alone in his office, staring at the photo of his younger self. Memories of his early struggles resurfaced, and for the first time in years, he questioned whether his pursuit of acceptance in elite circles had cost him his integrity. Torn between damage control and redemption, Marcus faced a decision that could either salvage his reputation or destroy it entirely. Meanwhile, Musk, uncharacteristically silent on social media, deliberated over how to respond. The equations Zora had glimpsed in his notebook were part of a groundbreaking AI project that could revolutionize the industry. Yet, her dismissal had forced him to confront uncomfortable truths about the very system he had benefited from. Musk's eventual decision, to quietly reach out to Zora, would set off a chain of events that neither of them could predict. As the pieces moved into place, the stakes grew higher. Zora's reluctance to play the role of activist clashed with the public's growing demand for her voice. Amelia's investigation threatened to expose not just Marcus but the broader complicity of Silicon Valley's elite. And Musk, grappling with his own culpability, began to see the butterfly motif from his prototype in a new light, a symbol of transformation, fragile yet powerful. The storm was building, and no one would emerge unchanged. The fallout from Zora's dismissal ignited a series of events that none of the players could have foreseen. Zora, initially disheartened by the sudden loss of her job, found herself at a crossroads. Clutching Musk's business card, she hesitated, torn between reaching out to someone who represented the very system she sought to challenge and retreating into the safety of anonymity. With her savings dwindling and her dreams slipping further away, she made the bold decision to contact him, unaware that this single call would alter the trajectory of her life. Musk, grappling with the implications of Zora's story, invited her to meet at his private office. Their conversation, initially professional, soon veered into deeper territory. Zora's insights into the flaws of AI systems, particularly their embedded biases, struck a chord with Musk. For the first time, he was forced to confront the blind spots in his own work. Yet, his growing awareness came with discomfort, a realization that his empire, built on innovation, had inadvertently contributed to the inequalities he now sought to understand. Meanwhile, Amelia Thorne's investigation gained momentum as she uncovered damning evidence of systemic discrimination in Silicon Valley's service and tech industries. Her reporting began to paint a broader picture of the region's stark divides, with Zora's story emerging as a centerpiece. Amelia, however, faced her own ethical dilemmas, torn between sensationalizing the story to advance her career or presenting it with the nuance it deserved. Marcus Chen, racked with guilt over his actions, found himself reflecting on the compromises he had made to survive in a competitive world. A late-night visit to his old restaurant, now shuttered, brought memories of his early struggles flooding back. Confronted with his younger self's ideals, he began to question whether his pursuit of acceptance in elite circles had come at too great a cost. As these threads converged, the stage was set for a climactic confrontation. Zora, emboldened by her growing network of allies, prepared to unveil her AI prototype, a tool designed to expose systemic biases. But with powerful forces working against her, the question remained, would her voice be enough to spark the change Silicon Valley desperately needed? The fallout from Zora's dismissal spread like wildfire, igniting debates across social media platforms. Some rallied behind her, calling out systemic discrimination, while others dismissed the incident as an overreaction. Among the chaos, Zora found herself torn between fear of retaliation and a growing sense of responsibility to speak out. Her phone buzzed incessantly with messages of support and inquiries from journalists, but one number stood out: Elon Musk. The tech mogul's offer to meet left her both curious and apprehensive, unsure of his intentions. Meanwhile, Marcus Chen wrestled with the consequences of his decision. The cafe's online reviews plummeted, and whispers of boycotts reached his ears. Yet, his pride and fear of losing favor with his wealthy clientele kept him from reconsidering. Late at night, he stared at the photo of his younger self, the immigrant who had once dreamed of building something meaningful. The reflection staring back felt like a stranger. Amelia Thorne, fueled by a mix of ambition and genuine outrage, pieced together a broader narrative. Her investigation uncovered not just Zora's story but a web of discriminatory practices in Silicon Valley's service industry, where countless workers were silenced by fear of losing their livelihoods. An anonymous email tipped her off to a potential ally, an ex-employee of Nebula Cafe willing to speak out. Amelia's instincts told her this story was bigger than she'd imagined, but she also felt the weight of responsibility to get it right. Zora's meeting with Musk was unexpectedly candid. He admitted his obliviousness to the struggles faced by those outside his bubble of privilege. Yet, his words carried a challenge: if you have the vision, let's build something together. Zora hesitated, unsure if she could trust him, but the spark of her dream refused to dim. As the pieces began to align, alliances formed in unexpected places. Amelia reached out to Zora, proposing a collaboration to amplify the story. Marcus, feeling the walls closing in, received a visit from an old friend who reminded him of the values he'd abandoned. The butterfly motif reappeared, etched into the prototype Musk unveiled at the meeting, a subtle nod to the storm that was now impossible to ignore. Zora sat in her cramped apartment, staring at Elon Musk's business card. The weight of her dismissal hung heavy, but the spark of their brief conversation lingered. She hesitated, torn between reaching out to a man who symbolized everything she wanted to achieve and the fear of being dismissed as insignificant. Meanwhile, her sketches of AI prototypes lay scattered across the table, a silent reminder of her potential and the stakes of her next move. At the Nebula Cafe, Marcus Chen grappled with his decision. The backlash on social media was growing louder, with former employees sharing stories of similar mistreatment. His carefully curated image as a self-made success story was unraveling. Yet, deep down, Marcus wasn't just worried about his reputation, he was haunted by the memory of the sacrifices his family made to give him a chance in America. Could he afford to risk everything he'd built to make things right? Amelia Thorne's investigation was gaining momentum. Each tip she received uncovered layers of systemic inequality within Silicon Valley's service and tech industries. But her editor was pressuring her to sensationalize the story, to reduce it to clickbait. Amelia knew the truth was far more complex. She began to question her own motives. Was she exploiting Zora's struggles for her own career, or could her work genuinely expose the cracks in the system? Elon Musk, for his part, found himself at a crossroads. His advisors urged him to stay silent, to avoid unnecessary controversy. But the incident at the cafe had struck a nerve. For the first time, he realized how insulated he'd been from the struggles of people like Zora. As he reviewed her sketches, sent in a hesitant email, he saw brilliance and determination that reminded him of his younger self. Yet stepping into her corner would mean alienating powerful allies. As the tension reached its peak, the threads began to converge. Zora, emboldened by Amelia's persistence, decided to confront Marcus with the truth. Marcus, in turn, faced a choice: to double down on his mistakes or to become an unlikely ally. Musk's response to Zora's email would either ignite a revolution or reveal the limits of his convictions. All the while, Amelia prepared to publish her findings, knowing the fallout could either inspire change or deepen the divide. The stage was set for a collision of ideals, power, and humanity. The question remained: would these individuals rise above their fears, or would the forces of inequality and self-interest prevail? The confrontation at Nebula Cafe reached its boiling point when Zora, armed with Amelia Thorne's exposé, returned to confront Marcus Chen. The article, now viral, had not only revealed Marcus's discriminatory practices but also exposed a broader pattern of systemic inequality in Silicon Valley. Customers boycotted the cafe, protesters gathered outside, and Marcus was forced to face the weight of his decisions. In a rare moment of vulnerability, he admitted his fear of losing everything he had worked for and apologized to Zora. Yet, the damage had been done, and Zora walked away, resolute in her decision to never let fear dictate her path. Meanwhile, Elon Musk, shaken by the backlash and his own complicity, announced a bold initiative: a $100 million fund to support underrepresented entrepreneurs in tech. He reached out to Zora, offering her the first grant to develop her AI project. Initially hesitant, Zora accepted, not for the money but for the platform it provided to amplify her vision. Her startup, aptly named Butterfly Code, became a symbol of innovation driven by inclusion, challenging the industry's entrenched biases and inspiring countless others to follow. Amelia Thorne, now a rising star in journalism, faced her own ethical crossroads. The anonymous tips that had fueled her investigation turned out to be from a whistleblower at a major tech firm. Exposing the source could lead to greater systemic change but would endanger the whistleblower's career. Amelia chose integrity over ambition, protecting her source while continuing to shed light on injustices. Her work sparked a wave of accountability across the tech world, proving that the pen could indeed be mightier than the algorithm. As the dust settled, Zora, Musk, Marcus, and Amelia found themselves forever changed. Their actions, born of conflict and reconciliation, set a precedent for a Silicon Valley where progress was measured not just in innovation but in equity. The call to action was clear: challenge the status quo, demand accountability, and remember that even the smallest act of courage can ignite a revolution. The fallout from Zora's dismissal reverberated far beyond the walls of Nebula Cafe. Amelia Thorne's exposé, a scathing indictment of systemic discrimination in Silicon Valley, not only went viral but also sparked a public reckoning. Her investigation revealed how the tech industry's promises of meritocracy often masked deep-seated inequalities, forcing companies to confront their hiring practices and workplace cultures. For Amelia, the story became more than a career milestone. It was a call to examine her own biases and the power of journalism to drive accountability. Meanwhile, Zora, bolstered by an outpouring of support online and Musk's unexpected mentorship, refused to let her dream die. With Musk's resources and her own relentless drive, she launched her startup, Butterfly AI, named after the sketches that had once been her quiet solace. The company's mission was as bold as it was personal: to develop algorithms that actively dismantled bias in hiring and decision-making processes. Zora's rise from waitress to tech innovator became a symbol of resilience and the transformative power of opportunity. Marcus Chen, grappling with the backlash against his cafe, faced a reckoning of his own. The photo of his younger self, once a source of pride, now felt like a haunting reminder of the values he had abandoned. In a rare public statement, Marcus admitted his wrongdoing and pledged to reform his business practices, offering Zora a heartfelt apology. Though forgiveness was not immediate, his actions marked the beginning of a journey toward redemption. As for Musk, the incident forced him to reevaluate his role as a leader in an industry that often overlooked its own flaws. His collaboration with Zora became a turning point, inspiring other tech leaders to prioritize equity and inclusion. Yet, his journey remained complex, as he balanced his ambitions with the weight of his newfound awareness. The story of Zora, Marcus, Amelia, and Musk serves as a reminder that even small actions can spark profound change. It challenges us to ask, what role will we play in shaping a more just and equitable future? The butterfly's wings have stirred the air. Now it's up to all of us to carry the storm forward.